All right, so I wanted to welcome George Reeder, president and owner of Rovner Products. Thanks so much, George, for joining us today.
Thank you, Donna. And I would like to edit you a little bit. Let's call me co-owner because my wife and I are the owners, and we collaborate quite synergistically.
That is true, and Lynn handles all the marketing, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, she's very creative in that way, and she always comes to me for the technical side. But anything you see marketing is Lynn's handiwork.
Yes, and especially if you go to NAMM, she has one of the most beautiful displays, I have to say.
She has fun putting together displays for shows for sure.
Absolutely. Okay, so welcome to the podcast. What I'd like the listeners to know is how you came about becoming the co-owner of Rovner Products and what your background is.
Sure. All right. Thank you very much. It all started in 1964 on the clarinet, getting excited about music. And what's cool about that is I remember coming home from school and I would put my clarinet down. I would walk to school on my way home and I would open it and start playing walking home. I just love music.
Wow.
And I think that there are some stories that I will tell later on that will kind of refer back to that and how I got some inspiration about some things. When I was in high school, I was fortunate enough to study with a fellow named Ron Deal, who studied with Phil Woods, and he was the lead alto in the Navy Commodores. So he was a great player and has been a lifelong friend. We're friends to this day. I originally thought I would take the typical route to be a musician, go to college, and then hit the road and figure out where to go. But after being inspired by Ron Deal, I thought I would go the military route. So I spent the summer after high school wood shedding, and since I mainly was a sax guy, I had to do it on clarinet as well. And that's where I realized that that's not for me. I spent all that time and clarinet, I just wouldn't get well versed at it. So somehow I ended up in electronics and went a different route. Became field engineer for Bose Corporation on mainframe computers, worked for Xerox Corporation, and then in the mid 90s became the general manager of Rovner Products. How did that come about? I've used Rovner Products since the mid 80s. So not only am I the president of Rovner Products, but I'm a user.
That's awesome.
And I have a photo of a friend of mine, and we were practicing. It was from the mid '80s, and you could tell because I had OP shorts on. They were only about that tall, and my thighs were rather muscular then. Anyway, and the reason why I did that was I went back to Ron after having a family and having a career in other ways outside of music, and I needed to get back into music. And I said, I want to take lessons again and progress myself. He said, the first thing you need to do is get a new ligature. So he turned me on to Rovner ligatures. And at that time, it had only been around for about 10 years. 1974 is when Phil Rovner first developed and patented the dark ligature. Dark ligature, even today, after 44 years, is our most sought after ligature. There have been millions of Rovner ligatures sold worldwide. It's really quite awesome what Phil developed. The dark ligature is still the most popular ligature, and it's used by anyone from beginners to top players. There's still principal clarinetists that it's their preferred ligature. Kenny G has been using it since the beginning. Chris Fadala loves them. Many, many, many players and new players and band directors will spec them out. So it's still a great ligature. And but now we have other tools, so we can go from the tennis shoe that works great to maybe a very specialized shoe that's just for bowling or just for basketball or just for racquetball. So in a way, we've kind of, as the demands of playing have increased, now we have a tool that can help them either support the new demands or solve new problems.
Great.
All right. Okay, so that was the Star Series. That was the first ligature that we worked on. And what I like about the Star Series is it's a ligature that is super simple. And with that simplicity comes what we call our most resonant ligature. And that means that this will resonate more than all of our other ligatures. I call it a somatic experience because you get to feel the music. So as you play, you'll feel it in your fingers, you'll feel it in your body. Who could that help? New players, people that have untrained ears and immature embouchures or undeveloped embouchures. So when you think about it, when I think about when I played that clarinet originally, how much fun it was to play an instrument. And then I realized that in the very, very beginning, as I would playing, I would blow and there would be a sound that came out. But there was kind of a disconnect. It didn't seem like I was participating in the sound. It seemed like it was really the clarinet and I'm just pressing fingers. But with the Star Series, the student or anyone playing will actually feel the music. So for that new player, what an experience that is, that you are now participating in the playing of the music. So what's occurring is unconsciously, they're beginning to understand things like intonation without knowing what that word is, because they can feel vibrations. And then we can all tell when a vibration feels good or if it feels wrong. So when things just don't sound right or they sound good, we know that intuitively. It's really wonderful ligature.
Yeah,
And then,
I wanted to bring up a point too.
sure,
With the somatic experience, you just had me thinking those folks that play piano or guitar, they have
yeah,
that somatic experience because they can see, obviously, they can feel, right? They can
yes,
feel the production of the note. They can feel the vibration. Piano, you can feel it. Drums, you can feel it.
yes.
Yet, I never thought of it this way. With wind instruments, you really don't.
No, it takes a long time before you get to be able to realize how you can feel the sound.
Yeah, wow. That's a really great point to bring out. Wow.
Thank you, Donna.
No, thank you.
So now who's the other target market that enjoys this simple ligature? And it's high-end OEMs, meaning original equipment manufacturers. So folks that have a very expensive mouthpiece with fine finishes on it, if they use the Star Series, they can put it on. It comes with a ligature that's not going to mar the mouthpiece. Now that sounds simple, but it's very important. If you put a standard ligature on a metal mouthpiece, the chances are that someone could scratch it. And if they send it back, if they don't like it, now you have a scratched mouthpiece. Nobody wants that. So it's great. Slides on easy. It also happens to be our least expensive ligature, but it does have a hidden characteristic that helps with the sale of the mouthpiece. And that is the mouthpiece makers have created really wonderful pieces that will help us to play a certain way, have edge, have mellow, whatever it is, they've done a lot of work to create that. Now, when someone plays it at home and it has our Star Series on it, they feel it. So right away, they're feeling the experience of this new mouthpiece. Well, they probably didn't do that before. They probably have to play loud and go up against a mirror to be able to get as much of the experience. But with this, you're blowing and all of a sudden you realize like, oh, this mouthpiece this is way different. What an experience. Somatic experience. Our least expensive ligature. At opposite ends of the spectrum, high-end beginners. Okay, so what was next? Well, what was next was something called the legacy. Now, the legacy was an iteration of the Star Series. So basically, we took the Star Series and we put metal as a cradle. Why? Because some people, they feel that metal is what they're looking for contacting their reed. So we thought, okay, great, we can do that. So basically, it's the same ligature, sized differently, to accept a metal cradle. Now, that metal cradle, though, is quite unique, and it's more like a set of wings. So what's occurring is it's like a V, and then it pops up, and we're only contacting the reed on the very edges. What does that do is nothing short of amazing. This is our most dynamic ligature. So it has the widest spread of how far you can push this thing. You can get much more amplitude, much more expressive devices because of the flexibility this offers. It's extreme. So it's emphasizing the upper partials, and it doesn't have a strong core. And you say, well, why would you want that? Again, this is a specialist, not the generalist. Marching band. You have all those woodwinds out on a big open field, and they're playing, and it's the upper partials that are going to be able to cut and be heard. Anything that's kind of low is just going to get, it's not going to go anywhere. So that's it. Jazz players, because of the extreme performance that you can get by pushing it, klezmer players, or people that are just extreme players that just blow your mind by what they're able to do. They get to expand those capabilities with this. It has another purpose, though. Because it's emphasizing the upper partials, we're able to take maybe something that's a stuffy sound. Let's say it's your instrument, your mouthpiece, and we're able to give it more presence. And so since the nature of this is to emphasize those upper partials, if you've got a glut of core and that almost becomes muddy, we just kind of say, well, that's okay. You can keep a nice core, but we're going to give a little more presence. So it's really kind of cool. Again, it's a specialist and it's a problem solver. Two examples of solving a problem. One, we were at a trade show and there was a mouthpiece maker that had made a mouthpiece for a Count Basie player, saxophone. They showed up, they were happy. Now, Count Basie guys, they're gonna have nice sounds, it's gonna be luscious. They got to the show and you couldn't hear it. There was so much noise. So it had such a beautiful chord to it, but it wouldn't project. It didn't have presence just with all that extra noise. So they said, what can we do? And I said, here, put this on. So about 10 minutes later, they came back and said, we'll take 10. One more example is we had, again, these are unusual cases where we had a classical player that played E flat and was the only E flat player in a large symphony in a very large hall. And he couldn't be heard. So we were kind of experimenting, and I said, let's go for this, because typically you wouldn't have a concert player play this because it doesn't have a strong core, so it's not dark, but it has a lot of presence. And this person just needed to be heard. And sure enough, it did the trick. A wonderful example of being targeted to solve a problem.
Absolutely.
Okay. So then, since we were into the metal, then we took the first leap into Rovner Products all metal ligature, and that became the platinum, which also, so it was really quite beautiful piece.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. It's a polished alloy. The thing about the platinum is that it looks fragile, but it's very durable. You can certainly stand on it and bend it, but it has a very strong memory. It's not going to break. It's very, very strong. This is a strong alloy. It's not plated. It will never um, lose its sheen. And so, well, what's up with the platinum? Well, first off, the pins go on the reed, which is unlike all of the Rovner ligatures, which go on in an inverted way, where the pins are on the back of the mouthpiece. The next is it tricks you. When you look at this, and when I offer it to folks, they'll say, "Nah, I don't like metal," or "That's going to be too bright." Now, the strange thing is that Donna had the same experience. It's actually slightly dark. But the thing is, it has the most beautiful tone, bell-like tone. It's just rings with a slightly dark um, positioning on the spectrum. Beautiful. We call this our most beautiful sounding ligature. A funny way to describe a ligature, but it's about sound. People come initially to the platinum because of sound. It's just beautiful. But another thing is, it solves a problem. So let's take a ligature, a mouthpiece, very, very popular, Dukoffs. And um, typically people playing a Dukoff, they want presence, they want edge, they want to be heard, they're in a setting where they're really pushing it. Now, if you take that same setting and you're in a little more intimate setting, it could be a little brash. It could borderline into the part of just being too much. This is our preferred ligature for the Dukoffs or similar mouthpieces where it have a lot of edge. And what it does is it takes that edge and just gives it a nice little rounding. So you get everything that you wanted, presence, projection, just, these extreme sounds, but just makes it, just rounds out those edges. And now it's way more practical for anything you want to play. It's really amazing. All right. And then came the next one was the Versa X. So the Versa X, we stole the idea from the Versa, which was formerly the Eddie Daniels, of let's have a flap that can cover our cradle or expose the cradle so it can have multiple uses. Now, as it turns out with the Versa X, it happens to be our, and I'll show you this. Can we see that?
Yeah, now we can. Okay, yeah.
Right. Has a very unique cradle design. And this particular ligature is our darkest, most um, concentrated sound. It's very, very, very tight. Originally, what we have a cradle and we can cover the cradle with these flaps.
Okay.
In that configuration, it's dark and focused. Usually classical players like that. Now, when we expose the cradle, we're going to add those upper partials, but unlike the Legacy, we're going to maintain a very strong core. So now we're going to get a nice sound, but with a little more presence. Typically, jazz players prefer that. What's another target group? Let's go to high school. When you get to high school, there are many now demands that are happening. The music is harder. Now, not only are you in concert band, but you might be a marching band or a jazz band. And your budget is limited. So the Versa X. When you're in the concert band, we take the flaps, we cover it, we get that nice dark sound you're looking for from your woodwinds. But there's another part of it that we get. Because of our patents and proprietary things, we're getting more gain. So your woodwind players don't have to work as hard to get as much sound. The beauty of that is they're not overblowing, they're going to be more in tune, sound better. Now you're on the football field, and again, you have that problem of how do I get heard? You get heard because we now have the upper partials by exposing the cradle, and we have this added gain that we didn't have before. So it's great. When they're in the jazz band, typically they expose the cradle for more flexibility, nuanced sounds, expressive devices. It's all there. and it's not expensive. Versa X. Followed the Versa X came the Van Gogh. And I think Donna really was quite blown away from the Van Gogh because it's just so different for fabric ligature. Nothing like that has ever been around. If you look at our dark, here's the Van Gogh. It's
Wow. Oh my God.
huge, huge.
I know. And when I first saw this, my jaw dropped because I thought to myself, okay, this is impossible. This is going to make it sound so dark and muffled. And I can't believe that he wants me to try this. That's what I initially
Yeah.
thought.
So the inside story is when Phil gave this ligature to me, he said, yeah, try this out. And that happened a lot. So I would try things out, try to understand their behaviors, and then who might use them. And I looked at that and I said, yeah, I'm not going to try that this week. I don't want to tell them no, I didn't like it. I thought it was going to gobble up the sound. I put it on and I jumped back because it exploded in sound. Exploded. So the Van Gogh, which will get us closer look here,
Got that odd shape to it.
very odd shape. So what occurs is that we're only contacting the reed on the very edges. So this again is very unique in a ligature that wraps around. This is only contacting on 2 points. So with that, we're getting way more gain. This is our biggest sounding ligature, and it's tonal neutral. So this is what I say that this honors the sound system. So it is the person, whatever their oral cavity is, the reed, and the mouthpiece. Whatever those produce, this just takes it and says, "Here, world," and has such a big sound, easy blowing. It also is our only ligature that we can change the inference of which direction it goes, either darker or lighter, by increasing or decreasing the tension, which is really rather amazing. So it's a wonderful ligature. Where would you use that? Um, a lot of baritone players like this because it's just so easy blowing, and they get to pop and they get more presence, and it gives them a tool that they never had before. Roger Rosenberg fell in love with it when I first introduced it to him many years ago, and he tours with Steely Dan. That last year in the summer, we re-engineered all of our ligatures with new technology and new patents that we've applied for. So that new development again blew him away, as others, as the same thing happened to you at the show at NAMM.
Yeah, yeah,
So
you know what, George, too? What surprised me also about this ligature, it is really big. Okay, I mean it is huge, but also the placement on the mouthpiece is different. And a lot
yeah,
of times when I'm doing my YouTube videos, I get frequent comments, okay, Donna, your video is great, but you have to learn how to place that ligature on the mouthpiece. It's wrong. I'm like, no, no,
so
that's the Van Gogh. Okay.
yeah,
You want to talk
right,
about that for a
right.
second?
So the thing about Rovner ligatures is they don't use prior art. They have a different convention. So when people think about, well, that won't work because it doesn't, ours work differently. So, um, so the Van Gogh is what we came out with. And then after that, we'll come to the last ligature, which is the most recent one. And this was kind of something that came out of Lynn and me. Um, this is our platinum gold. So the platinum gold is the platinum.
Oh, that's nice.
It's gold plated and it is beautiful.
Yeah. Wow.
The reason why I came out with that was I thought that the platinum, the classical players love the bell-like tone, but I thought they would enjoy a little darker sound even more because for some people they wanted even a darker sound. And when we worked through all of these kind of interesting ways to plate this, and it is gold plating, um, we came up with the right mixture. and were quite pleased with the sound of it. Gave it to folks, everyone fell in love with it, and it did produce that nice darker sound, bell-like finish with a halo of warmth right on the very edge. Really very nice. What surprised me though was there was something hidden in there that was quite a jewel. And there was a new bouquet of sound. To me, it reminded me of flowers that would bloom that you'd never seen before. And there would be, after this one would bloom, then another one would come. So you'd get these sounds, a spectrum of sound that would come out that you hadn't heard before. So it's another tool for the player to really experiment. For those that are interested in sound and tone, Platinum Gold, very, very wonderful.
George, with that ligature, is that also the same as the platinum where the pin is going to be on the bottom?
Yes, it is. So we place the pins on the reed.
Got it.
Now, because the design is a bit unique, sometimes there are mouthpieces that are quite small or have a very unusual geometry. And when you put the platinum on or the platinum gold, it's a little hard to get the ligature on and seat on the reed.
Okay.
If that's the case, I just rotate it, turn it, tighten it, and if it fits, which means that you have about a 1/4 inch gap, plus or minus,
Okay.
then it just means that in some cases, it's probably better to invert it, and it's perfectly fine. So our ligatures have suggested ways to play them, but we also like you to experiment. And most of our other ligatures can be turned so the pins are on the reed as well. So it's always good to experiment. We love to hear from you about that. Now, Donna, I greatly appreciate this opportunity to have this podcast, and I've had a lot of fun doing this, and I'm hoping we can do it again because there are some things that we've done. We are now the sole importer to North America for Ramponi and Cazzani saxophones,
Wow.
and they're handmade in the Alps of Italy. We've got new products that we're developing, a special stand, display stand for instruments that are clarinet, saxophone, and we also have barrels for clarinet players that we didn't have a chance to talk about, but I know that we have some time constraints this time, but it would be nice to follow up with that as well.
Yes, we will definitely do a part two because I'm also curious too. About what you're going to bring to NAM, this year. Aside from that awesome mug,
Yeah,
those folks that are listening to the podcast, the video is up on our YouTube channel. You have to watch this video because you can get a chance to actually see all the ligatures and see some of the special features that are involved, and also see George's amazing mug that I have too. It's really great.
great. And it was designed by my wife, Lynn.
Oh my gosh, that's perfect. And it's a great mug. I have to tell you, it's an awesome mug. It's my favorite.
Ergonomically wonderful.
It is. It definitely is. See, so you know how to make ligatures and you know how to make mugs. What's going to come next? Oh my God. No, but I wanted to thank you for your time and you know the really detailed and in-depth descriptions for each ligature. One more question though.
Sure.
There's going to be people that are still going to have questions with regard to, okay,
Yeah.
like let's say for me, I've got a 10M fan Black Widow mouthpiece.
Yep.
I play all styles, but mostly I play, let's say, in cover bands or something like that, or on
Yep.
large stages. I need some presence. What
Yep.
would you recommend? So, what do they
Sure.
do? What do you want them to do?
Let me give you a quick one. Um, First off, if you go to our website, you can read the descriptions. They're very good at a practical side of what it can do, what genre is it good for. But if you do have a question after that, you can email us, and we have dedicated staff that are players to help you with your selection. So we're here to help, and you don't have to buy from us. You can purchase from the website, but you're certainly welcome, and we encourage you to go to your local dealer or whomever that you purchase your products from. We can help you with that selection.
Terrific. That's really helpful because I know a lot of folks always ask me, which one do you recommend? And, I have to talk to them a little bit with regard to what their playing needs are, what types of music that they're performing, what are their current challenges, even, the mouthpiece model, the reed choice, all that kind of thing. So I think that'll definitely help a lot of folks. And, for some folks that live all over the world too, they may not, and I know this because I have a lot of students all over the world, they don't have
Yes,
access to a lot of local stores. So
right.
it's great that you have that, the customer service team that can help people
Sure.
make an informed choice. So much
And
appreciated.
also, most of the sales that we have that are for individuals are international because they have trouble finding, in some places, the particular ligature they're looking for. So we're a resource. Again,
That's
Don, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you again at NAM. We're going to have a lot of fun. And
We definitely will. Thank you so much for your time, George. We really appreciate it. Well, I don't know about you, but I learned a lot from this interview with George, and I've interviewed him before for my other radio show that I had in the past. But every time I speak with him, he's just a wealth of knowledge, and just the amount of time, energy, and effort on research that his team puts into creating and innovating these new ligatures is it's really astounding. Now, don't forget to check out Rovner Products at rovnerproducts.com. And if you still have questions about which ligature may be best for your mouthpiece, definitely contact them through there or through their Facebook page. Like their page and contact them, and David Hayes will get back to you. Once again, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Key Leaves. When you use Key Leaves, you never have sticky sax keys again. Remember, he's done extensive research on this, and in a year-long field test, they stopped 98% of all sticky keys, so you got to check that out. All right, now if you want to get your hands on some Key Leaves, go to keyleaves.com, and for a limited time, use the promo code Everything Saxophone to get $5 off your order. Remember, you can extend the life of your pads if you use this simple, easy to use product. So check it out, keyleaves.com. Hey, thanks for joining us on this episode. On that note, take care. Have a great day.